Okay, so we're going to look at some a little bit harder problems that have to do with surface area. So the first is going to be the surface area of a prism. And so remember the formula we used for surface area of a prism is going to be 2 times the base. So you got to find B. The large B always represents the area of the base, plus the perimeter times the height. And remember, the height is the distance between the bases. And one of the ways that you know where the height is versus the bases is the height is always going to be rectangles. So if we look at number 3 here, the height is going to be represented by these lines BG, CF, and DE. Even though this shape is laying on its side, because the base is a trapezoid, that's what the base is going to be. This part here is going to be the base. So to do this, we need to find what is the area of the base. We need to find the perimeter. We need to find the height. Okay, so we know that DAB is 45 degrees. ABC is 60, so we get those from here and here. AD is 12, DC is 4, and then ED is 15. So if you notice, we already have the height. And so if we're gonna be finding this, we're gonna be doing 2 times the area of the base. So you need to find out what that area of the base is, plus the perimeter, and then times the height. But the height is just 15. We've already been given that because that's what that DE value is. So now we got to go and just learn things about this trapezoid to be able to find out what those 2 other things that we don't know are, the area of the base and the perimeter. So we draw in a height of our trapezoid, and we're going to draw it in twice. This is what we learned to do when we learned about trapezoids. This is a 45, 45, 90 triangle here with a hypotenuse of 12. So we need to divide that by root 2 to find our legs of our 45, 45, 90 triangle, which is going to be equal to 6 root 2. So that means that this length right here is 6 root 2, which means the height is 6 root 2, which means this length right here is 6 root 2, right? Because the heights are going to be the same. We know that this length is 4 because DC is 4. And so now we need to find just these 2 lengths left. Well, they are just the short leg of a 30, 60, 90, and then the hypotenuse of a 30, 60, 90, because 6 root 2 is opposite the 60 degrees. So we need to do 6 root 2 divided by root 3, which is just going to turn out to be, because root 3 times root 3 is 3, it's going to just turn out to be 2 root 6. And so this value is 2 root 6. And then remember, if you know the short leg of a 30, 60, 90, the long leg is twice that, so it turns out to be 4 root 6. So area of the base. Well, the area of a trapezoid, this is a formula you really need to know, is 1/2 the height, which we said of the trapezoid. Remember, we're talking trapezoid now, which is 6 root 2, plus the sum of the bases, or times the sum of the bases. Well, the sum of the bases are 4 plus 12 plus 4 plus 2 root 6. And so that would give you 20 plus 2 root 6. And then this is just the perimeter of the base, which is going to be 4 plus 12 plus 12 plus 4, which turns out to be 32, plus 2 root 6 for this part, and then plus 4 root 6, which is the same as 6 root 6 with those together. Now we go through and multiply all this out. 2 times 1/2 is just 1. And so we get 6 root 2 times 20 is 120 root 2. 6 root 2 times 2 root 6 is going to give us 12 root 12. We're going to have to simplify that. We'll come back and do that in a second. 32 times 15 is going to give us 480. And then 6 root 6 times 15 is going to give us 90 root 6. The only simplification we have left to do is changing that to 24 root 3. And so our final answer turns out to be 120 root 2 plus 24 root 3 plus 480 plus 90 root 6. The key is understanding the formula, knowing what it is, figuring out what do you know, and then what things did you need to find out using the geometry we've learned throughout the year. All right, for number 8, we're looking at the surface area of a square pyramid. And so please understand that the relationship between the surface area of a prism, remember prism means you have two bases. And the surface area of a pyramid is that they're very similar, except that you divide the prism by 2. And so if I divide this whole thing by 2, I get, instead of 2 bases, 1 base. Instead of p times h, I get 1/2, dividing by 2, p. But the only reason it's not exactly divided by 2 is because instead of h, the height, we have this value L, which is our slant height. So in a square pyramid, it looks like this. And remember, the slant height is this length right here. It's the length along the height of one of the faces. So it says, find the surface area of a square pyramid with base edge 8 and altitude 12. Well, surface area equals, if our base edge is 8 and it's a square pyramid, that means that the base is really easy to find. It's just 64, because it's 8 times 8. It's just a square. Plus 1/2 times the perimeter. Well, the perimeter of a square is really easy. It's just 32. So the only thing challenging on this problem is finding out what L is. Well, there are triangles you have to draw, but for this one, it's just going to be the apothem of the base and the altitude and the L value. And so L is what we're trying to find. The altitude's given to you. That's this length right here from the vertex point down to the base. And then we need this apothem, but in a square, the apothem is really easy to find. If you remember, it's just half the side length, and so that's going to be 4. So that means we just need to do Pythagorean theorem on this. If we do that, we get 4 squared plus 12 squared equals L squared, which is 160 equals L squared. So L just turns out to be 4 root 10 when you take the square root of 160. And so we put 4 root 10 here. So our answer just turns out to be 64 plus, this is 16 times 4, 64 root 10. Again, the problem is made way easier when you write your formula down. Make sure you know your formula. You need to make sure you know this formula well. And then see, what do I know? And then what do I need to figure out so that I can complete the formula? And then you just have to simplify through once you're done. So for a problem like 9, it's a little bit harder. And so number one, it's hard to draw. And so we've got this octagon pyramid. I'm not going to try to draw all 8 sides of it. So that's just kind of a front-looking face of this. And it's the surface area of a regular pyramid with octagon base. So our surface area, again, is 1 base plus 1/2 PL. You're given the apothem, and you're given the altitude. So that means the apothem is this value right here. So that's 4. And the altitude is that value there is 6. And so that means we can find the lateral height pretty easily. It's just the, if we do this right triangle with the apothem, altitude, and L value. And so that turns out to just be 4 squared plus 6 squared equals L squared. So L turns out to be square root of 52, which is 2 root 13. But the other two we don't know. And so the area of the base, well, it's an octagon, and you could do it a couple different ways, but I'm just going to go ahead and use trig for this. And so it's going to be 1/2 PL, 1/2 times the perimeter, 1/2 PA, times the apothem. We know the apothem is 4. And so this is perimeter here, plus 1/2 the perimeter. So notice how these are the same. So knowing the perimeter of this base is going to be super important, times L, which is 2 root 13. So it turned out what I really need to know to solve this problem is, what's the perimeter of the base? Well, remember, in a regular polygon, we can find information out by drawing in this. This is in a octagon 67.5. You're given the apothem is 4. And so remember, this value, this x value there, is just half the side length. We use our trig. Our trig says tangent, because this is a leg and this is a leg. So tangent is opposite over adjacent, not dealing with a hypotenuse. So it's just going to be tangent of 4 over x. And so you get x equals 4 over tangent of 67.5. Tangent of 67.5, that is half the side length. There are 8 sides because this is an octagon, so we need to multiply this by 16 because it's half the side length, and so there are 16 halves to make up 8 holes. And so in our calculator, we just do 4 divided by, remember to make sure that because we're doing trig again, that your calculator's on degrees. And so you're just going to do 4 times 16 divided by tangent of 67.5, which should give you 26.50. Make sure you put enough decimal places here so it doesn't get messed up. So 50966, that should be plenty. 50966. And now I can go through and just calculate everything else. And so just multiply that out and then multiply this out. And I get 148.60 or 6 as my surface area for this regular pyramid with octagon base. Again, know your formula and then figure out what pieces you need, and everything else is stuff that we've studied before.